Oh, you didn't play that.
Well, we got yelled at one time by.
Fun time. It really set in there.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, call the meeting to order. Pledge the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Guess we go back clear to July's regular business meeting of the Planning Commission. I need a approval of the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
Just one little correction. There was something was $15,000. It was 1,500 or 15,000 square feet. There's a dollar sign in front of it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'll correct that, thank you.
I signed most.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I can't vote because I was not here, so I do not know.
I think you have to vote or else it won't pass. There's only three.
So I gotta like nay then? I mean, because I was not here, so I have no idea. I mean, I saw the minutes, but.
No, I think we're okay. Yeah,
We can just pass them at the next meeting.
Yeah, but they won't be posted until after the next meeting then.
Yeah, I think we'll just go free now.
Is Christopher Friday playing in?
You
No,
drive a red Jeep?
that's Rory.
Okay.
Oh,
Caroline?
Yeah.
Okay.
I called him just because this was going through and I knew nothing about it. So at least wanted to have some input.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, thank you.
I think we're good because it's two with one abstaining. So I'm
Right,
sorry.
okay.
I was.
So 2 and 1. Thank you.
Any correspondence, Tim?
No.
First on our agenda is the airport district overlay ordinance
Should
review.
I wait a moment for Rory to get in
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Well, before we start, I'm going to skip all the whereases in the front end. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, 4. We're going to skip those because it's kind of just all front end things. And I'm going to start with the definitions on 5. I'm not going to cover all the definitions. I'm just going to cover the pertinent ones.
He was pretty, I gave it to him on Friday and he went through it.
Okay.
He'd come back down to my house about time. We're all waiting for you, Rory.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the definitions. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of them. Just the ones that are pertinent to what we're going over tonight. I'm going to start with airport elevation. The airport elevation is 1,430 feet estimated. I think it's from the Register is where we got that number. The approach surface is an imaginary surface longitudinally centered on the extended runway center line and extending outward and upward from each end of the primary surface. An approach surface is applied to each end of the runway based on the planned approach. The inner edge of the approach surface is the same width as the primary surface and extends uniformly depending on the planed approach. The approach surface, as shown in Figure 1S, is derived from the approach surface. So, looking at the exhibit, that is the yellow trapezoidal shape coming from each runway. And if you notice with the figure, we're only covering Summit Township. Where it goes into McCain, it stops. I think the intent is McCain's going to look at our ordinance after we adopt it and decide whether or not they want to adopt the same ordinance. But we're only covering Summit, that's why all the colors stop at Summit.
You take some questions? Go ahead.
So they are reviewing it, or McCain will after?
We've been in discussion with them and they're kind of on a holding pattern.
Typically what they do is they'll just copy ours, so that's probably what they're waiting for.
Okay,
They
good.
didn't want to hire an attorney.
Matt, are you taking questions on that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one question about the, let me see here, this thing, yeah, this area right in here.
There is a better one. This is kind of an older rendition. Our green didn't go all the way to the line.
Oh, that is green.
Yeah, that's supposed to be green.
Okay.
And I think this is a first iteration where the hatching didn't quite work right, so But we have a better one that covers the whole thing.
Oh, that's fine.
That's okay, you guys
It's in-
can look at
It's
this.
in the final, that's okay.
Oh, there you go.
You know, just an area of ambiguity.
Yeah, we
right
pulled
in-
one up real quick for this one, and it's one of the older ones, so.
Right in the area of, you know, constant,
Yeah.
contention of last.
So that's
time.
the area where you're allowed to build the skyscrapers. Yeah, that was just a typo on my part, we have that fixed. The next definition is the conical surfaces, that purple area. It's an imaginary surface extending outward and upward from the periphery of the horizontal surface, a slope of 20 feet horizontal to 1 foot vertically for a horizontal distance of 4,000 feet. The conical surface zone is shown, it's shown on the figure. Horizontal surface zone is an imaginary plane 150 feet above the established airport elevation that is constructed by swinging arcs of various radii from the center end of the primary surface and then connecting the adjacent arc by tangent lines. The radius of each arc is based on the plane approach. The horizontal surface zone is shown in figure 1 as derived from the horizontal surface. So this is that orange area surrounding the airport. It's a constant 150 feet above the airport elevation. It looks circular because just the length of the runway and the size of the arcs. I think it's just under a mile in radius. And then we go to the next page, primary surface zone. It's imaginary surface longitudinally. Now this one is not, it's the little blue area right around the runway. If you're looking at the figure. It's an imaginary surface longitudinally centered on the runway, extending 200 feet beyond the end of the paved runways or ending at the end of the turf runways. The elevation of the point of the primary surface is the same elevation on the nearest point on the runway center line. The primary surface is shown on figure 1. So basically this is at ground level extending out to encompass the entire runway surface. So it's that little blue area around the black runway. And then transition zone, we'll just keep it zoomed in. This is that green area with the little white patch that didn't get filled in. Is imaginary surface extending outward and upward from the edge of the primary surface to the horizontal surface at a slope of 7 feet horizontally to 1 foot vertically. And that kind of covers the zones. So moving on, section 6 is the establishment of the zones. So they're hereby created and established certain zones within the ordinance defined in section 5 of this ordinance and depicted in figure 1 and illustrated on the airport hazard map attached as exhibit 1 and hereby adopted as part of the ordinance. And then it goes through and lists the 5 zones that we've covered. Section 7 goes over the permit requirements as regulated by the Airport Zoning Act and defined by the statute. Any person who plans to erect a new structure, to add an existing structure, or to erect and maintain an object, natural or man-made, in the vicinity of the airport shall first notify the Department Bureau of Aviation by submitting PennDOT Form AB 57 to obtain an obstruction review of the proposal at least 30 days prior to commencement thereof. The department's BOA response must be included with this permit application for it to be considered complete. If the department's BOA returns a determination of no penetration of the airspace, the permit request should be considered in compliance with the intent of this ordinance. If the department's BOA returns a determination of penetration of the air surface, the permit shall be denied. The project sponsor may seek a variance from such regulations as outlined in section 8 below. And then we go to section 8, the variance. So for any request for a variance shall include documentation with the statute. Determinations of whether to grant a variance will depend on the determinations made by the FAA and the department's BOA. As to the effect of the proposal on the operation of air navigation facilities and safe and efficient use of navigable airspace. In particular, the request for a variance shall consider which of the following categories the FAA has placed the proposed construction end. So we have 3 conditions. So first one is no objection. The subject construction is deemed not to exceed obstruction standards, and marking lane is not required to mitigate potential hazard. And then under this determination, a variance would be granted. Number 2 is a conditional determination. The proposed construction alteration is determined to create some level of encroachment into the airport hazard area, which can be effectively mitigated. Under this determination, a variance shall be granted contingent upon implementation of mitigating measures such as described in section 9, obstruction markings and lightings. I did notice a typo here, because if you look ahead, section 9 is called use restrictions, section 11 is obstruction markings and lighting, so that should be section 11. So we did note that typo. Number 3, objectionable. The proposed construction alteration is determined to be a hazard and thus is objectionable. Variance shall be denied, and the reasons for this determination shall be outlined to the applicant. So such requests for variances shall be granted where it is duly found that the literal application or enforcement of the regulations will result in unnecessary hardship, and that relief granted will not be contrary to the public interest, will not create a hazard to air navigation, will do substantial justice, and will be in accordance with the intent of this ordinance. So section 9 is use restrictions. This is where we're talking about, it's just easier to read, sorry. So notwithstanding any provisions of this ordinance, no use shall be made of land or water within an airport district overlay in such a manner as to create electrical interference with navigational signals or radio communications between the airport and aircraft, make it difficult for pilots to distinguish between airport lights and others, impair visibility in the vicinity of an airport, create bird strike hazards, or otherwise endanger or interfere with the landing, takeoff, or maneuvering of aircraft utilizing the airport. Section 10 discusses pre-existing and non-conforming uses. Just to summarize this one, if there is a non-conforming use there, it is allowed to be there. You are not allowed to alter it or make it worse. So you can't make it higher, you can't make it bigger. You can make it shorter, but that's about it. Section 11 is obstruction marking and lighting. Any permit or variance granted pursuant to the provisions of this ordinance may be conditioned according to the process described in section 8 here, and variance to require the owner of the structure or object of the natural growth in question to permit the municipality at its own expense or require the person requesting the permit or variance to install, operate, and maintain such marking or lighting as deemed necessary to assure both ground and air safety. Section 12, violations and penalties. This is establishing that the Summit Township zoning officer is appointed as the individual for enforcement and administration of the ordinance. Section 13, appeals. This is setting that the Summit Township Zoning Hearing Board is appointed to appeal board to hear appeals and anything regarding this ordinance. Section 14, conflicting regulations. So if there's conflicting regulations, the more stringent regulation is the one that will govern. So if there's a zoning ordinance issue that would govern. We have a severability clause, a repealer, and effective date. I think I missed something in here, didn't I? Oh. I was going to skip all the whereases. We're going to go back. On the second page, this is kind of where you guys come in. There's a whereas the Summit Township Board of Supervisors by resolution appoint the Summit Township Planning Commission as the Summit Township Airport Zoning Planning Agency. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. And then whereas the Summit Township Airport Planning Agency held a public meeting, which we will have, and that same issued a final report to the supervisors on a future date, making recommendations as to the airport hazard overlay. And then after that, the Summit Township will hold a public hearing on the ordinance. So that kind of gives you the next steps. So the next steps, if we're okay with everything here, is the Supervisors will have a resolution to appoint the Planning Commission as the airport planning agency, and then we'll start the public review process.
Question.
Sure.
So, I'm just trying to understand, you know, all the moving parts here, because it seems that one of the main and important things that this draft ordinance does is that it establishes the airport zones.
Correct.
And that are unique to us in Summit. And then, right after those zones are established, what we're basically saying is, now there's also a requirement from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation that you fill out the necessary applications and then send that off to them. So, does the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation look at the airport zones that we've established and then make a determination there, or are they just made using other criteria?
It'll be the same criteria. We're basically memorializing the zones that should already be there.
Yeah.
So they'll be basing it off of these zones.
So in other words, that one of the another one of the good uses of this ordinance is that someone's looking to build something in that area, this will tell them yes, no.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll kind of give them a heads up that what they're in for and the procedure to do so.
Yeah, it's clear now.
I don't know if the responsibility of the planning commission to have that expertise per se.
I don't think it's you're just basically serving the same function you are now, it's just another little nuance.
Because it'll always be Pennsylvania Department of Transportation oversight.
Yes, and like I said, the ordinance, we won't even accept an application until they went through the process with the Bureau of Aviation. And then we would be looking, there's that one section about electrical interferences, lighting hazards, and that's kind of where we'd step in if there was any issues that we had. But for the most part, we're memorializing the state law or the federal law and putting the procedure to it, so it's not, so nobody can sneak something in.
As I said, we're not experts. I mean, it all comes back to,
Well, you're probably about as good as expert as anybody else after the last tower that was looking to go in. We learned a lot from that one.
we did, but in 5 years or 2 years or 6 months, this board may change.
Yeah, but
So
Tammy and I
how
will
do you-
still be here, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and but just to understand or to qualify the people that have a decision.
Yeah.
And we'd have to seek, in that case, whoever would be here would have to seek the counsel of people like Mr. Gerlin, or, you know, whoever have a stake or, stakeholders in this matter. I mean, I know 3 people right off the bat, that live in a mile of me who are pilots, one of them's a commercial pilot. I mean, these people could be, drawn on in the future, if need be.
I'm okay with it. Just trying to understand.
Yeah. You had a question?
Well, just, you guys still have more authority than this as a township, right?
There's some language in here that,
Still gives you the decision, even if everything passes through clearances, if you still see a safety hazard of it.
yes, there's always,
You can still override this, you
Yeah.
still have more power.
It would be a recommendation from us,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, there's always the health and safety and welfare of the public.
But this is what you have to get put in for the state to stay legal.
Yes. And I think, yeah, like that last paragraph in section 8 where it says such requests for variances shall be granted, whereas duly found that the liberal application or enforcement of the regulations will result in unnecessary hardship and will not be contrary to public interest, will not create a hazard to air navigation, will not do substantial will do substantial justice, sorry, and will be in accordance with the intent of that.
Which still gives you
That gives the zoning hearing board the teeth to say, you can't
I
do
was
this
gonna
because
say,
of
if
that.
somebody's really pushing and saying, well, this, we can do it because this ain't, you know, we're abiding by this, but you still have authority to be able to say yes or no.
And certainly the supervisors do too.
Yep, well, that's it, that's what
Yeah,
I mean.
goes
So
into
the
political
township has it still.
Yeah.
Just so you know that, that's all.
Oh, yeah. So the question, another question comes to mind is, rewind back to the last submission to put a tower in the vicinity of this space. Given this ordinance, how would that application have fared?
It would have been right on the cusp of the surface. It would have been like within a foot or so, one way or the other, based on what I've looked at. Because based on how far it was away, the elevation of the surface, it was really close.
But your restriction on your variance from your
Well, the zoning ordinance,
zone ordinance
allow it.
before,
I mean, we
you're
have
asking for the variance.
Yeah.
so-
restrictions in the zoning ordinance regarding that.
Yeah, and the
So-
zoning or has the more restrictive of the ordinances would apply. So in that case, the zoning ordinance would have overridden it anyways. But say they got a variance, as far as this ordinance, it would have been really close. There would have probably been a lot of back and forth. And the fact that it was going right on the approach surface or really close to it would have been a deciding factor.
Yeah.
And that might have been too much, they might not have had enough of a hardship to overrun that.
Okay.
So, short answer is I don't know, but we would have been through a process. But we are in a better place now because we have the regulations to start with. Well, we will be in a better place in a month or two.
So,
But we have no action on this tonight, it was just a review, take questions. We'll have to talk to the supervisors, see when they want to do that resolution, and then we'll start the public review process. So maybe it could be as early as the next meeting, we have this up for your formal review.
okay.
All right.
Next on our agenda is the subdivision land development and mobile home ordinance review.
Tammy's taking this one tonight.
So, I think we left off at section 609, communication towers. And we actually have an ordinance that covers everything that's in here on wireless communication towers. So we can skip over that. In section 611, wind energy facilities, we have like 4 or 5 pages in our zoning ordinance that covers exactly what they have, including the definitions. So that's already in place. So we're moving on to Article 7, mobile home park standards. So all mobile home parks shall conform to the provisions of this section as well as other applicable standards in this ordinance. The application for mobile home parks development shall follow the procedures for land developments in accordance with this ordinance. Information to be included on the prelim and the final land development plans shall conform to the requirements in Article 4 and 6 of this ordinance. In addition to any other requirements of this ordinance, the plan shall contain the following: the number, size, location of the proposed mobile home site and other parking areas, the location, right-of-way, surface roadway with roadway design and walkways. C, the proposed interior vehicular and pedestrian circulation patterns. D, the location of service buildings, sanitary stations, and any other or proposed structures. The location of water and sewer lines and riser pipes, location of details, area lighting, electric and gas systems as related to applicable codes and sound engineering practice. The plan shall specify the skirting shall be provided on all mobile homes, and I just added within 30 days after the site installation. And the following note shall be placed on the plan. It shall be the responsibility of the mobile home park owner to maintain all improvements and facilities, including but not limited to areas and facilities designated for internal roads, sewage disposal, water supply, stormwater management, open space, and solid waste collection. The minimum area, this is park and density. The minimum area of the tract or park shall be 5, and I added contiguous acres. 5 contiguous acres of land. That's what was in the old one. The site shall be so located that the soil conditions, groundwater level, drainage, and topography shall not create hazards to the property, health, or safety of the occupants or adjacent property owners. Overall density of the park shall not exceed 7 mobile home lots per acre of gross area of the park. There shall be no more than 1 mobile home placed on any one mobile home park lot. And then these are the lot and yard regulations. Each mobile home, the lot size and width, each mobile home shall have a minimum lot width of 50 feet and a minimum area of 5,000 square feet. Yard requirements. Mobile homes shall be parked on each lot so that there will be a minimum of, it's going to be 20. That's what we have in the old one. 20 feet between the mobile homes, pertinent structures and adjacent side to rear lot lines. So side to side and anything behind them, there's 20 feet. There shall be a minimum of 10 feet between mobile homes, including attached structure or accessory structure, and the pavement of the park, street, or common parking area. So in other words, it's 10 feet from the street is where their mobile home has to be. And even their structure has to stop at the 10 feet, whether it's a deck or whatever. So, you guys clear on that? So 10 feet from the front yard setback.
So you're on number 2?
On it, yeah, number 2.
So that 20 feet changed to 10?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The setback from the right-of-way of any public street or highway shall be required but not shall exceed less than 35 feet. We don't have anything in our other section about 35 feet. It's 10 feet from, is the front yard setback from the street, so we can take that second
This
section.
is talking about the public right of way. So if it's like on Robinson Road or.
Yeah, you split the road.
Yeah.
So for the 25-foot road, right away.
Yeah.
So which should that be from the right of way of any public street?
Should it just comply with the zoning ordinance at that point?
Yeah, we can put that in there. Put that in somewhere. Mobile home shall be located a minimum of 20 feet from any common building or structure. Secondary entrance ways may utilize stoops, landings, or patios or awnings to extend into the depth of 5 feet within the 20-foot yard requirements. So what this is saying is we're allowing them to encroach 5 feet into the
With steps.
side to side.
With steps.
Right. So at number 5, mobile homes. Mobile homes within the mobile home park shall be situated that no mobile home will be placed less than 50 feet from any side or rear exterior boundary of the park. What we had in the old one was all occupied mobile homes shall be located at least 50 feet from any park property line abutting a public street or highway, and at least 40 feet from other park property boundary lines. Front depth shall be increased to 100 feet if within 1/2 mile radius, of a limited access highway interchange on Route 19 and 97. So it's a little more strict than number 5. Do you want to add, keep what we had? Where we're requiring 50-foot boundary around the park, on the outside of the park, and at least 40 feet from other park property boundary lines, and then increase it to 100 feet if within a half-mile radius of a limited access highway interchange on Route 19 or 97. Do you want to just keep it 50 feet, or do you want to increase it to 100? If it's near.
100 just seems like space. What's that? 100 seems like a lot, doesn't it? No fun.
Is Summit Heights the only one that would apply to? Because the rest are more than a half mile away from the interchange.
Right, but this would be a proposed one.
Yeah.
Proposed park.
Yeah, this is all new, so
True.
I can't see this ever being part of mobile home parks or,
They're
Yeah.
long-term, yeah.
yeah.
I guess there's room by 97. There's still vacant land up there or something there, but.
But I can't see a mobile home park.
No,
Just, that's a man's opinion.
but you never know. They might tear down the Walmart and put the mobile home park back.
Sure.
You just want to keep it at 50 feet then, boundary, all the way around?
I'm okay with 100. I think it's,
Okay, so we're gonna stick with the older, it's more strict.
I don't know, what's anybody else think?
100 sounds more than
Yeah.
50 feet, especially from 19 or 97.
Right.
Okay, so, letter C, identification, each lot shall have a number placed on the lot, either in the form of a sign or directly on the mobile home. It shall be arranged in such a way that it is visible from the road on which the mobile home or lot is fronting. Each lot shall be directly accessible from an approved internal street without the necessity of crossing any other space.
And mobile home stands, shouldn't that go under the IRC? And that's, you just can't put 4 cement blocks instead of house line, right?
What's that?
Doesn't it refer, or shouldn't it refer back to the IRC?
For the UCC code. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So this is, yeah.
so this
In
is
years
saying.
past, you could put 4 cement blocks down and set all 4 corners on it.
Mhm.
The UCC or IRC, whatever you call it now,
Right.
restricts that.
So with all of this, I mean, they're gonna have to follow the UCC code. This is saying all mobile home lots within the mobile home park shall be improved to provide durable, adequate support placement of the mobile home and shall be properly equipped to render the lot usable. All such improvements shall be maintained in a satisfactory condition by the developer or park owner. At a minimum, the following standards shall be met. A, the mobile home lot pad stand shall be equal to the length or the width of the mobile home proposed to use that lot. In our ordinance, I think it just said 15 feet. The mobile home lot pad or stand shall not heave, shift, settle unevenly under the weight of the mobile home due to the frost action, inadequate drainage, vibration, or other forces acting on the structure, and shall be designed to uniformly support the mobile home in a level position. Each pad shall be constructed of asphalt, concrete, or stabilized crushed stone, suitable shale or other approved material. C, each mobile home lot pad stand shall be provided with an anchoring system designed to secure the stability of the mobile home and resist floating, collapse, and lateral movement. And D, each mobile home shall be equipped with properly designed and approved water and sewer connections and shall be provided with approved electrical service connections. I think those are just basic requirements. Yeah, and we can add in there, obviously they have to follow the UCC construction code, whatever their requirements are.
I think that would take care of a lot of questions.
Skirting, the plan shall specify the skirting shall be provided on all mobile homes. Internal street system. The internal street system is privately owned, mobile home park shall be privately owned, constructed and maintained. It shall be constructed in accordance with requirements of section 505 of this ordinance as applicable. Where possible, the mobile home park shall be provided with 2 points of ingress and egress. All such access ways shall be designed to minimize congestion and hazards at the entrance and exit of the facility and shall allow free movement of traffic on adjacent streets. Internal streets shall have a paved parkway of at least 20 feet in width and a 50-foot right-of-way.
So that comes back to your, if you add that language in there, that comes back to your 35 feet that you were questioning earlier. Because you have 10 feet and 25. Half of your right of way is 25, the other 10 would be, so from center line, basically, they'd have to come back 35 feet. And I think you already spoke that, did you?
Mm-hmm. Right, I was just looking at our old one. We were talking about internal, we were over here on the old one, it said internal streets. Surface roadways shall be of adequate width to accommodate anticipated traffic in any case, shall meet the following minimum requirements. When parking is permitted on both sides, a minimum width of 36 feet will be required in a 50-foot right-of-way. Letter B, a minimum roadway pavement width of 30 feet will be required where parking is limited one side with a 50-foot right-of-way. And a minimum road pavement width of 20 feet will be required where off-street parking is provided with a 50-foot right-of-way. And then we also had dead-end streets shall be provided at the closed end with a turnaround, have an outside paved roadway diameter of at least 90 feet with a 120-foot right-of-way. So I like that information that we used to have. It's a little more detailed with the internal streets. If Matt's on board, he's the. Do you like the older one better, Matt?
I do.
Yeah.
Just looking at the parking, we haven't got there yet, but we increase it based on parallel parking, so they're adding 8 foot each time we add a lane of parallel parking. Do we want parallel parking in the mobile home parks? Because this talks, in the next section, there's talk about visitor parking and so on and so forth.
Okay, first of all, you're good with the streets though, right?
Yes, I like the idea of having a cul-de-sac turnarounds, and because then we have folks that have come to meetings and complain about the ones that have been built before where it's just a dead end stump street and they can't turn around on it. So I think we should have that in there. We talked about it earlier in reading it now. I don't know if we want people parking on the internal streets or not.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of maybe safety concerns with fire trucks or such that.
Yeah, well, a lot of times you have a lot of little children in these mobile home parks,
Yep.
and you get a ball that gets kicked between 2 cars parked on the side of the road. Even a starting child.
Yeah, parking in internal streets, if it's only gonna be 20 feet, I don't think it's a good idea.
Well, that's why we have
Go to 36.
the provision to widen it 8 foot every time we add a parking lane. But you still have that 20-foot wide parkway, but you have cars on both sides, potentially.
Do you want to limit to one side or do you just want off-street?
I'm just wondering if we keep it 20 foot, we have the off-street parking in the next section, and then we just add the provision about the turnaround.
So we don't even talk about the,
No,
Both
'cause
sides?
at that point, if they wanted to add it, they could go in for a variance, and
Right.
they could do it on a case-by-case
yeah,
basis.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then keep the dead-end street with cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we used to have is the access, entrance road, or area connecting parks. First internal street with a public street or road shall have a minimum pavement width of 30 feet. If the usage is for both ingress and egress.
That's at the connection point, is that what you're?
Where you go onto the road.
In any case, 50-foot right-of-way must be maintained, measured from the center line of the paved area. So if you want to keep that 30 feet for the egress?
And I think the main purpose for that is if there's ever an accident right at the entrance, or if an ambulance has to come in, there's still room for folks to get around. Kind of like we're used to subdivisions, they have to call the boulevard street, so if there's something happens, at least you still have one lane open. So I'm for keeping it.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, we can move on to parking now. So parking, each mobile home shall have a lot shall be provided with a minimum of 2 on-lot parking spaces. These spaces shall be paved or provided with a stone, gravel, crushed limestone surface of at least 6 inches in depth to provide a year-round dust-free parking area. There shall be a concrete or paved walkway from the parking area to the main entrance of the unit. In addition, letter B, in addition to the required on-lot parking, every mobile home development with 25 or more mobile home lots shall provide a visitor's parking area with a minimum 1 space for each 2 mobile home lots. This parking lot shall be paved or provided with a stone, gravel, or a crushed limestone surface of at least 6 inches in depth to provide a year-round dust-free parking area. All parking spaces shall be a minimum size of 9 by 18. You're gonna go with that?
What's your thoughts on the 9 by 18? Everybody's getting bigger trucks. There's no such thing as a regular cat pickup truck anymore.
Mine won't fit it, but.
And the mini trucks now are the size of the old full sizes. So I didn't know if we wanted to bump that up to 10 by 20.
You're right, everyone is getting larger trucks.
Because a lot of it, like if you got a 4-door pickup with an 8-foot bed, you're not fitting in a 9 by 18 spot.
No. 10 by 20 works.
You're probably not even fitting in a 10 by 20 at that point.
Yeah, you're not fitting this small, even with a short box, you know, you're not fitting in that, because I know mine doesn't.
Yeah. So I was thinking maybe bump it to a 10 by 20 minimum.
Yeah. That works.
I figured you guys would get that.
All truck people.
All right, park perimeter screening, option 1. I think we just had to bring up option 2. We don't need to read them, do we? The difference is, one is referencing a buffer yard planning strip, meeting the requirements of the zoning ordinance, or the other one is buffer strip, and it is referencing the saldo. So we want to go with the one that's referencing the saldo because the zoning ordinance doesn't even have any regulations on green
The
space.
zoning is very weak with landscape buffering unless you're in the industrial park. And one of the points of this whole saldo is to get better landscape requirements, so we might as well reference it.
And then they're talking about double wides. Units placed on these perimeter lots should be double wide and shall have a slip roof. 12 feet of horizontal run to allow for, not added, to allow for 20 feet on each side of the structure. To structure to include additions. I just added that to have that 20 feet in between structures. So this is what happens over at the mobile home park. So they used to have all these that were built in the 1970s, you know, these 12 by 70 mobile homes, and they're getting rid of those and replacing them with 14 by 70s, or they're going 28 by 70. So now you don't have the distance between the mobile homes anymore, because they got to put them right over where the utilities are, and they lose the side yard stuff. Yeah. So I just added in here to maintain the 20-foot side yard setback. Okay. So you guys okay with option 2 to reference the saldo then for green space requirements, buffer requirements?
Sure.
Section 705, utilities and park facilities. Sanitary sewage disposal, adequate and safe sewage facilities must be provided up in all mobile home parks for conveying and disposing of sewage generated from the mobile homes, service buildings, and other accessory facilities. All mobile home parks shall be provided with public or community sewage disposal. And then provisions for all sewage disposal shall be in accordance with the requirements of the Pennsylvania Sewage Facilities Act, Health Department, and requirements 508 of the section as applicable. Each lot shall be provided with a suitable method for connecting the sewage drain outlet to the sewer line. And the provision shall be made for plugging the sewer riser pipe if the mobile home does not occupy a lot. Surface drainage shall be diverted away from the riser, and rim of the riser pipe shall be encased in a waterproof catch basin. Whatever that means.
That's kind of like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Waterproof catch basin.
Well, they don't want infiltration.
I
So
know.
if there's nothing there, they want that to be capped, so it's,
Well, I know, but the catch basin is that
yeah.
catch
I
water
understand.
with it.
Plug.
Bucket with a hole in it. Yeah.
Mobile home park owners shall be responsible for ownership, maintenance, repair, rehabilitation of the sewage disposal system, and for providing an adequate sewage disposal system to each mobile home lot. 705.2, water supply and adequate, safe, and potable supply of water shall be provided for all mobile home service buildings and other accessory facilities located within the mobile home park. All mobile home parks shall be provided with public and community water supply. Provisions for the water supply shall be in accordance with the requirements of section 507 of this ordinance and shall be in conformance with all federal, state, and local standards and regulations. Each mobile home shall have a water riser pipe to connect the mobile home water system to the community or public water system serving the park. Letter E, the mobile home park owner shall be responsible for ownership, maintenance, repair, rehabilitation of water supply system, and providing the adequate water supply to each mobile home lot. In 705.3, other utility systems, where provided telephone, electric, television, cable, natural, bottled gas, fuel, oil, or other utilities shall be installed in accordance with the rules and regulations of the appropriate utility company. And I think that says enough regarding the utilities, but on our last ordinance, we have 2 pages and they broke it down by every utility, including like liquefied petroleum gas systems, provided for the mobile home service buildings or other structures when installed shall be maintained in conformity with the rules and regulations of the authority having jurisdiction and shall include the following. Systems shall be provided with the safety devices to relieve excessive pressure and shall be arranged so that the discharge terminates at the safe location. Systems shall have at least one accessible means of shutting off gas. Such means shall be located outside of the mobile home and shall be maintained in effective operating condition. All LPG piping outside of the mobile home shall be well supported and protected against mechanical injury. Undiluted liquefied petroleum gas in a liquid form shall not be conveyed through piping equipment and systems in mobile homes. Vessels of more than 12 and less than 60 U.S. gallons gross capacity may be securely but not permanently fastened to prevent accidental overturning. And no LPG vessel shall be located inside or beneath any storage cabinet, carport, mobile home, or any other structure unless such installations are especially approved by the authority having jurisdiction. And it goes on to fuel, oil with their little regulations. I didn't know if you guys wanted to copy this or was this sufficient by just saying it in accordance with the rules and regulations of the appropriate utility company.
I like both. I mean, I think there's merit to both, but I guess I like it defined because you're pretty black and white here.
Yeah.
Well, my question is this gonna cover the fact where they put something in the carport?
I know, that's what I
Well, it
was
does.
thinking too. Yeah.
It's-
Well, that does, but
Yes.
this does this.
Right. So
Correct.
do you want to be specific on these different utilities?
To me, that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't think it'll ever be a factor because I don't think you'll ever see it mobile park.
No.
But you gotta go through it.
Go ahead. Solid waste disposal arrangements for the collection, storage, and disposal of solid waste generated by residents of the mobile home park shall be made by the mobile home park owner and shall be managed as to create no health hazards or air pollution. Dumpsters or other park waste disposal facilities shall be isolated from individual mobile homes at least 50 feet and shall be screened on at least 3 sides of the gate on the open side. Now, right now, some of the mobile home parks have individual totes.
I think almost all of them, it's just individual pickup.
You have your own toter. I mean, you can
I think you have to have ability to do, because if they have waste management or
Oh, yeah.
they have their tubs, so I think you have to have the ability to have that.
What is the common practice now for trash collection in mobile home parks?
A lot of them have like the 90-gallon
Toter.
rolling totes, and
Yeah,
you just
the
leave them out
Mhm.
in Waste Management or
Yeah.
Pro or whoever else. I don't think there was any of them that had dumpsters.
No.
So do we want to just,
Raccoon,
I think we keep it like this just in case there's that option, but that's kind of what they're doing now is the individual totes. I think the only one that utilizes dumpsters is Copperleaf, but that's not a mobile home park. But it's kind of a similar situation, because if you remember, they had the giant trash compactors in the back.
They have their individual toters, but they get their bill through, like, Summit Heights will give them one bill for their lot rent and their
trash.
sewage and for their trash. There. Okay, all right. 7055, exterior lighting. Adequate lighting shall be provided to illuminate streets, driveways, walkways for the safe movement of vehicles and pedestrians at night. Full cutoff fixtures shall be as required to minimize glare. 7056, recreation. At least 10% of the gross area of the mobile home park shall be set aside and provide as open space area available for the use and enjoyment of residents for varied outdoor recreational uses. The common open space shall be substantially free of structures except for those designed for recreational purposes and shall be in addition to those areas devoted to meeting and buffer yard requirements of this ordinance. The common open space areas shall be located and designed so that they are easily accessible to residents and so that their size, dimensions, topography, and other characteristics lend themselves to recreational use. The common open space area will be a private recreational area to be owned and maintained by the park. General, 7061, fire safety requirements. For the safety and welfare of the residents of the mobile home park, the following fire safety measures shall be incorporated into the park. All fire safety measures shall be approved by the fire department responsible for the fire protection service area in which the park is located. Parks with central water lines. In areas where central water systems, whether public or private, is proposed, the mobile home park development, fire hydrants shall be installed as an integral part of the water supply system, and the placement, design, and construction of such shall meet the specifications of the local fire department, and the public water supplier, and the municipality as applicable. Parks without central water lines. They can use a tank system or a pond system. Following fire safety measures shall be incorporated into the park. The developer retains the option of installing either the tank or pond system. For either option, the fire safety provision shall meet the requirements of the most recent edition of the International Fire Code. So the tank system is approved underground static water tank with capacity to provide fire as required by the IFC. And the pond system is a water pond shall be located in such a way to serve all park lots.
so I assume that the IFC has a number of units to gallons type requirement, or
I'm sure it does, yeah.
There's gotta be something.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that wraps it up with the mobile home parks. Do you guys have any questions about that? Moving over.
You guys good?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give Tammy a break here. Article 8, this is the conservation subdivision design options. This is going back to the trails at 5 Points, Valley View, kind of very dense. We don't want it yet.
No.
So what we propose is we're gonna nix all of Article 8, and whenever the ordinance is written, it'll just say reserved. That way we have the option to add it back in at a later date if we so desire. But part of what we did with the zoning ordinance was to get rid of the PRD type development because they work eventually, but usually the first owner has to go bankrupt and we go through 3 owners before we actually get a finished product. And trails at 5 Points in particular, we still haven't gotten that finished product. And it may not ever get finished at the rate we're going.
Wasn't it mandated by the state to have that in
It's
there?
an option, and if someone really, really wanted to, we could go through it with like zoning variances.
Because we were, I mean, I think when we went through it originally, that it was, nobody wanted it because it's Summit Township and designed for bigger lots, and now the state says, here, you have to have it, that was my understanding.
And we kind of have it included with the mixed use developments, because we took some of those PRD elements and incorporated it into the mixed use neighborhood zone. So we do allow it. We just don't explicitly have the whole procedure.
Designated area for it.
Okay, I'm okay with it, just I remember going through.
Yeah, that's why I want to have it as reserved. That way, if we find out in the future, yeah, you do have to have it, we can go back and add it in. And after that, we're into Article 9. Assurances for completion, maintenance, and improvement. This is talking about our bonding and making sure the developer actually does what they say they're going to do. And if you guys want to read it, awesome, but a lot of this language we have to have in here due to the municipality planning code and the requirements therein. So we really can't make a whole lot of changes there. Article 10 is going in administration amendment and modification. So if someone doesn't like a section of this ordinance and asks for relief, it goes through the procedure of doing that. And with the subdivision ordinance, that's usually, we've done it before, but it goes before the planning commission. Typically, whenever they present the plan to you, they'll say, we want a modification of this section of the ordinance, and you would give your recommendation, and then ultimately the Board of Supervisors would be the body that would approve that. We see it typically more with the stormwater ordinance, because if you recall, there have been a couple times where we've come to you with stormwater modifications. We didn't have that many with the saldo because our saldo was pretty weak, so there was really nothing to modify because it pretty much allowed you to do anything. We may see some of those come through with this, and typically you have a modification and you put in what you want to modify, how you want to modify it, how it meets the intent of the ordinance and the conditions, and then we make a determination and yay or nay, and then it would go before the supervisors for final approval. And then once we get past that section, we're into the appendices. This is all the first section's all, appendix 1 is all the certifications that go on the plans. So those are staying the same. And then appendix 2 is a model development agreement.
Ours is updated.
Yeah, we might just nix this and put ours in here. They may have already done it. I don't know exactly what ours looks like. But it basically goes through all the legalities of development and getting the developer to sign off on those, and that they're going to take care of things, that we won't have any issues going through the development. If we do, we have a means and methods to enforce that. And then at the end, it's just all the signature pages to approve the ordinance. So I just flew through 20 pages in 2 minutes.
That's what I call productivity.
Yeah.
Yes, very productive.
We call that the back end. So you have the front end that you really can't do a whole lot with, that you kind of, it's just common language. The back end has the same thing. So with this, we will kind of take the comments that we had, we've been kind of plugging away with it, and we will now produce a second rough draft, which we will provide to you so you guys can look at it again. But this time I'll have all the, hopefully we'll cover all the comments that we've gotten through with the past.
And updated definitions to match the zoning.
Yeah.
regs and other things.
So we got some work to do. It'll probably take us a month or two to get it done. So we might get going on this probably beginning of next year. Unless we have a slow November and December, but there's a lot of work projects in the pipe.
All these sheets of vegetation, is that just kind of to give us a clue
Yeah, so in
of
the,
buildings?
when we were going through the CELDA, we were talking about, should we be specific on, or have a reference sheet on which trees and shrubs that are not invasive, and maybe go with native. So I got a hold of somebody that works at the county, or the city, that provided me with all this. They already did all the homework, and these are native trees recommended along streets. And then you got the stuff, and they actually have their ordinance too about, talks about all the existing bushes that are invasive that they're not gonna recommend, which you can go by this or not. I mean, they're like, you know, the burning bush and everything that I like. On here.
Yeah, right.
Bradford pear in here?
What is it?
Bradford pear, that's another one that was deemed.
Oh, really? I don't see that on here.
Burning bushes are not recommended.
No,
No, they're not
no,
recommended.
you can't even buy them now.
They choke out, they tend to accumulate at the edge of a forest, the edge of a wooded area, and then start to move in and choke out. I didn't know that either. I thought, you know, hey.
Yeah, we have them all around the building here.
I
So.
love burning.
They'll slowly choke the building.
They can probably happily take over the planting island in the middle of the parking lot.
Chainsaws.
So I guess something for you to take a look at. If there's, you want to create a list of trees and bushes, or just use these as a reference sheet for them to select from when they do their green space.
Yeah, it could be always something that's added as an appendix to the ordinance, the accepted plans list.
If you guys are okay with that, or, you know, send me an email stating, well, you know, I want them to have, you know, 6 butterfly bushes and, or whatever. You can be as specific as you want and how many feet apart, and I just know Yankee needs some help.
Yes, big time. You think it's a little, just went by there today, pay attention.
I know.
Nothing
I
there.
know. It's frustrating.
But hopefully with this rewrite of the saldo, we can avoid that in the future. We'll have like, you have to have this many trees and this many shrubs. Because it was always really vague before.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't want to write it in a way that we end up with the Summit planting.
Forest, yeah.
Well, no, you end up with 3 maples and 2 bushes every 5 feet, and then it's like, oh, that's the Summit special, because that's what their ordinance says you can get away with as a minimum. I think ultimately we want diversity and.
Varieties and spice of life.
Yes.
So do we need a recommendation to get out of here, or are we done?
You can adjourn.
Then I need a,
Did he go over the comprehensive?
oh, no, sorry.
We don't really have anything
Okay.
for you tonight for the comprehensive plan.
Sorry, Chris.
It's covered. Okay.
Yeah. You got the word in there.
Good, thank you. Okay, now I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?